MerchCat is a platform for artists to sell and manage merchandise at live shows. It's a point of sale system. It's real-time inventory tracking with analytics and venue settlement sheets. So if artists are playing at venues where the venue takes a percentage of the merch sales, MerchCat will automatically calculate that for them. And then the analytics tell them their profit, sales trends, what shows are selling, they're selling the most merch at, their inventory on hand, the sizes and styles and types of merch that fans are buying. So like what are the top selling items by size, by quantity, and by dollars. And then also there's some like neat little metrics that say if you sell all of your inventory today, you'll make X amount of dollars to give incentive to sell that merch, and how much you've sold to date and how much is left to sell. So those analytics were created with the thought of easily helping an artist see what's happening in their merch business and to be able to help them make decisions going forward. So MerchCat came about because it's a very long story. So I'll just cut to the part of where I decided to create MerchCat. But I was in a different career and I was moonlighting as a manager. And I was working with a few artists in different capacities. But the main artist that I was working with, who I had basically taken him from being a local cover band that everyone kind of went out to see in restaurants and stuff like that, to recording his original music record, releasing it. We went through the whole branding process. We went through creating merch. And I started to see how important merch was. Like that was really, and I was an investor in his business, and that was really the only way he was making any money. That was the only way that I saw my money that I had invested as a manager coming back to me. And we had no way to track it. Like he was literally going out to venues and we were kind of shooting in the dark and guessing at things. And I asked other managers what they were using. They sent me a spreadsheet. I sent him the spreadsheet. He sent me back a Word document that said I sold 10 smalls at this show. So yeah, he wasn't, Excel savvy. He was not going to be using that spreadsheet. And I started to say to myself, like, hey, like, here's something, like, why isn't there a way? And it really kind of came to a head when we did this big concert / charity event, which was not at a restaurant. It was at our theater locally, where their capacity is between 2,500 and 3,000 people. And I had no idea how much merch to order. I didn't know how we were going to be running the merch table, because his girlfriend, who used to, use the iPad and the PayPal Here reader or whatever it was back then, she wanted to watch the show. I was going to have to be running around with production and the house. So I was like, okay, so we're basically going to have to trust a stranger to run the merch. And it's just so crazy that there's not something out there that exists that when the sale takes place, it kind of stamps at a point in time saying, okay, this is the show that this sale took place at. It reduces the inventory and it gives you a summary report. It just seemed kind of, my background originally is in accounting and finance. So my head kind of went there saying, okay, like why does this not exist? Like, how can this not exist? And, I went looking for something to use. I believe at Venue, which I guess is our closest competitor, existed at the time, but I took a look at it and it was quite complicated. Like a layman wasn't going to be able to just jump in and start using it. Like it was made for seasoned merch managers and tour managers. So we got through the show. I had no metrics after the show. Yeah. We went through blindly, but it really got me saying, like, well, if we're having this challenge, other people must be having the challenge too. And there's so many artists that are out there on their own, running their own merch table. Like even artists who are signed to a manager or a record label sometimes are touring on their own. Like they don't have a support, like a dedicated merch person out with them, like the van driver's running the merch table, or the artist is doing it, or the drummer's doing it, whoever. And so, like, yeah, there's a need for this product that is easy onboarding, easy for an artist to get into and really just understand quickly,
Mhm.
and be able to use it. So I decided to create it and decided to leave my cushy corporate America job to take a chance on myself and try to really be impactful in the space.
I think the main thing is that merch sales usually a shot in the dark. I feel like a lot of revenues could be strategized a little better. Let's just say you're registered as a business too. When you go to do your taxes, those kind of things are going to come into question. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to have all of your books in order.
With using a system like that, you have continuity of information. At the end of the day, you do have to use your Square account if you're taking credit cards, but Square has different levels of like admin. Like you can give somebody your login and they can't do anything else but accept payments. But with MerchCat, it gives you your inventory counts in real time and right in your store. So when you would like log in and open up your store for that day and count in your inventory that you have, and when you're in your store, it tells you right there if you have 5 left, or if you have nothing left, or if you have 100 left of that size and that style. So if somebody comes up to the merch table, you're not digging through bins like hopefully you're at some point corroborating your physical inventory with the system, but you're not diving through bins to try and know whether or not you have that item. You'll know already. So if someone's like, can I have a small in that shirt? You look there and you say, oh, we don't have that. We only have medium and large. And then, that helps keep the merch line moving. That helps you not waste time and be frustrated digging through bins. You know exactly what you have to sell that day. And then further to that, when you're running low. And you should be checking in with the system. And you made a good point before about merch strategy. I mean, that's something that I preach all the time. MerchCat is just a piece of the strategy. But strategy really starts with understanding your fans and being selective about the merch that you're making. Making your merch with your fans in mind, because that is going to determine what sells. And then MerchCat comes in at your live show when you have the merch. So, to do all of those things, to track the inventory, track the sales, give you analytics to look for the future, but also, do you have what your fans want in stock? And if you don't, then you better be ordering them. I do a workshop that starts with branding and then all the way to engaging fans with merch. I kind of bucket that whole entire thing under merch strategy, but we're an important part because we're the data aggregator.
Yeah.
We're the one who's going to be able to tell you what's actually happening after the blur of the show is over. Like, oh, what just happened at the merch table? You made these sales, you sold these items, and now this is what you have left.
Right. It's definitely an important piece. In one of my modules, we speak about alternative revenue streams because we're not just looking at Spotify.
Yep, 3,400 Spotify streams to make $15, and you can sell one shirt to make $15.
However, we kind of just brush up on the idea that merch is an alternative revenue stream that we should be looking at and capitalizing on.
Yeah.
Do you maybe want to give the audience a couple tips on merch strategy?
I think the mindset is that you have to think about your merch as revenue, but it is also marketing, and it is also fan engagements. And all of those things are connected, right? Because if you're marketing well and your fans are engaged, then they're going to buy more, and that's going to bring you revenue. Just to bring it back to what I was saying before, the artist is a brand. And I think the brand is a piece that some artists that I've seen skip. And the brand is your identity and what your fans are going to connect to. So figuring out your brand first, I think, is always a good place to start. And then building out all of your assets based on that brand. And then merch is really the physical representation of your brand. I've seen a lot of off-brand merch out there these days at shows, and I think it's because maybe a third party is taking over the merch, making designs off of a specific record or specific release, and you can tell that there's a disconnect between the artist and the merch. It cohesive so that the merch is a representation of you and your brand is very important. So putting that thought in when you're actually creating the merch. And then knowing, like looking at analytics. If you don't have a system yet, like MerchCat, like who's buying what and what are they buying at shows, who are your fans and who are you selling to? What kind of merch would they like? Their age, where they live. If you have the ability to see them in person, what their style is, what do you see them wearing? So looking at like streaming analytics, social analytics, if you don't have another way, but that's a good place to start. So looking at those analytics to see, like, is my audience male or female? What is their age range and where do they live? Because like people that live in a warm climate all the time, like maybe they don't want to, you're probably going to want to make a black t-shirt, black. By the way, the black t-shirt with a white logo is still the most popular selling item. So if you're at a loss of where to start, I would go there. If you're an artist like first starting out, considering who are my fans, who am I selling to? Because I think that's a part that artists miss sometimes. They're just like, oh, I want to make this shirt and this like crazy design. Do you have an audience that will wear that and buy that? So really thinking about fans. So also planning ahead. Like there's a lot of money that can be wasted by doing things last minute, like rush production costs, rush shipping to get your stuff in time, giving yourself enough lead time to make merch. And I would say, usually just for the production part, it's about 2 weeks, so 14 days. And then most merch companies don't work on the weekends. So you have to factor that in as well. And usually that's from approval of the design. So you really need probably like 3 weeks. And I'm not saying that it can happen in a shorter time than that, but you don't want to be wondering. Not only will you be incurring additional costs for rush production and rush shipping, but you may not get your merch in time and then you're losing out on sales. So giving yourself enough lead time, having some kind of strategy up front, I think yields stronger results. When producing merch, ways to keep costs down. Most artists are usually interested in that. So one color, one location print is sufficient, especially if you're just starting out. What drives up costs are multiple locations and multiple color prints. This is kind of a little trade secret, but the cost of the t-shirts are the cost of the t-shirt. It's the screen printing or the printing part where the more you make, the lower the cost is. So and I'm not saying that an artist has to go out and make 1,000 of each item, but I'm saying the printing is the costly part when it comes to that. So you can make a good t-shirt and keep the cost kind of leveled out by having a one color, one location print. I know metal especially likes to have these crazy colors and designs, and there's like stuff on the sleeve and stuff on the front and stuff on the back. Yeah. But if you're just starting out, you don't need to do all of that. Or if you're on a budget, you don't need to do all of that. Like you can still make something good that your fans are going to buy with a one color, one location print. Another point for keeping costs down is having print ready files. So if you've already gone through the process with a graphic designer to create your artwork, have it in, it's called a vector file, JPEG or PNG file. Those are not print ready art files. Those are for the screen, for the web. And there are some printers that will work with that and convert it for you, but they may charge you for it. Having those files ready and available will save you time, and it may also save you money by having to pay an additional graphic design fee for the screen printer to have to convert the file. I would say that using a local screen printer is a good idea. Mom and pop shops usually have better pricing than the bigger companies that deal with huge brands and don't understand that an artist doesn't have the budget to make even sometimes 72 of an item. So the smaller mom and pop screen printers will do smaller quantities and usually have reasonable pricing. I would say to stay away from places like Custom Ink, because you're going to pay a premium, you're not going to have control over the quality, and you're just one in a million customer who is buying from them. I hear like, oh, I don't play that many shows, so I'm not going to sell merch. I think that as soon as you have shows or as soon as you have music to release, it's a good time to have some sort of merch. Like, your fans want a way to support you outside of the music, give it to them. And if you start with that One Color Location t-shirt in a small quantity, or make some physical representation of your music, the t-shirt is still the most popular item. I would lean towards that, especially if you're just starting out. Get in the game as soon as you can. It's the low-hanging fruit revenue stream. It's literally money in your hand as soon as the sale happens, or money in your bank. Like, there's really no other revenue stream like that in music. For the streaming, you wait for your checks. For a sync placement, you wait for the check to come in the mail. For artists who are kind of on the fence or think that you don't have enough going on or whatever, get in the game. Your merch is a way to talk to your fans, so use it as a fan engagement tool. Like offering buy one, get one, or offering it as an incentive. If you buy this merch, and you'll get entered to win an entry to our sound check or backstage tour or whatever. You can do contests with it. I think having people like post photos of them wearing your merch, I think that's a great way to engage your fans too. Merch is also community amongst fans, strengthening the connection between the artist and the fan, but it's also building community amongst fans. Like, I went to Newport Folk Festival and I noticed this phenomenon going on a couple of years ago where I'm like, wow, 1 out of every 5 dudes is literally wearing a band t-shirt. And most of them weren't the bands that were playing at the festival. So band t-shirts are like festival wear or wear to concerts. That light bulb went off for me. It's a conversation starter. Like, if somebody else is a fan of that band sees it, like, hey dude, where'd you get that shirt? It builds community amongst fans. So I would say that artists should try to capitalize on that. And, you know, so like back to buy one, get one free, bundling, the perceived value of a bundle is greater than the items itself. Right. So bundling those items together, the fans feel like they're getting something special, limited drops and exclusive items. I see a lot of bands doing show posters, location specific show posters, anything that makes the fan feel like they're getting something that's like exclusive or special and not available to every person is a good way to increase the fan engagement there. And then asking your fans what they want, like put it out there. Oh, do I do a beanie, this season, or should I make a scarf, or should I do a trucker hat? Like, give them the options and say, like, help us choose, and invite them into your process and invite them into your world. You asked, we gave it to you. Now bye. There's actually a new company out there called Softside, and they're kind of in beta, but what they're doing is fan created designs that the artist official fan made merch designs for the artist. And like, I think inviting them into your process, ask them to submit, you probably have some talented fans out there that are into art. Like, if you're kind of like, instead of paying whatever it is, $500,000 to a graphic designer, like, reach out to your fans and ask them to kind of help there. It's so engaging and so like bringing the fan further into your world. The more you feel like make your fans feel like they're part of your tribe. Like, I think that's how those relationships get stronger and they stick. And when the relationships stick, you start to develop that, kind of almost cliche term now, but super fans. And those super fans are going to buy whatever you make. So it's really kind of building that rapport and that artist fan connection that's going to solidify like the merch. And then, after that, like, making sure that you have something for all of, the spending appetites of your fan base. Like, not every person can afford a $40 t-shirt. You don't want to ice out the people that still want to support you, but they can only do, maybe a $10 item or a $5 item. So I suggest having, I call it the merch mix, different price points for different fans. And then also when you're looking at expanding on your merch, like, you know, maybe you do have a new record art and you want to incorporate that into your designs, and maybe it's a crazy 10 color print, but maybe you have a new fan who doesn't want that. And so I would recommend, and like this is kind of a new recommendation because it's my struggle that I have had at shows, and that is like, have a basic in your merch line that you're just always going to have, like your classic logo t-shirt that you're just going to keep. It's not going to be an expensive one to make, and you're just going to have it there for that fan or the new fans that come along that maybe aren't into the crazy stuff, or maybe they've been your fan for a while and they haven't bought anything yet, and like now is the day that they decided, and they're like, oh, you don't have that anymore. Like, you know, if you think about like the Rolling Stones or like the Red Hot Chili Peppers or the Foo Fighters, like there's always that like kind of classic logo and design that's been around forever that people are going to go back to. And like, because you're always hopefully developing new fans, but new fans may be a little kind of like, all right, I'm just like getting into this and I don't understand that craziness, but I would love to support and like buy something. So having, and if it's not a t-shirt, maybe even just something, even, you know, something in your merch line that is kind of simple, like, because like, I'll just give you the example, but I went to a Silver Suns pickup show, and I was a newish fan. It was the first time I went to see them. I kind of liked their music and I really wanted to see them. I knew I wanted to see them. I went to their merch table and they had like 3 or 4 different variations of a pastel rainbow logo on a tan shirt, and they were just all different variations of it, and I was like, no. No.
Yeah.
And there was a tote bag that also had that on it, and like maybe that was their record, but I think it makes a lot more sense to have like a classic shirt and then some new stuff for your record, and your classic shirt is just going to be the constant. That's always. And if they would have had something cool with their logo, I think it's like some kind of writing that says Silver Sun Pickups, I may have bought it. Because I was ready, but no way. You know, I looked at that other stuff and I was like, but why is it necessary to have all these variations of this same thing?
Right.
You know,
right. Absolutely.
If you're gonna have multiple shirts, then at least have something in there that is like appealing to everybody.
Have multiple, not just the same but different.
Exactly. So I mean, those are kind of the workshop that I do usually takes about 2 hours, but those are because I have like
no, that's okay. I think we've gotten into a lot of the foundation of like where they should be starting, especially with that one classic, I'd call it the bread and butter t-shirt, where it comes everywhere for every occasion and it suits anybody. So I do like that idea.
Yeah, that is like that's your identity, you know, and it's okay to do variations on that. I mean, again, to, you know, cite the Rolling Stones, but like they have had all different variations of that, you know, that mouth and tongue design.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've been around for longer than I've been on this planet, and that design is still rolling in different variations. So that is just, you know, one of the best examples of like the brand, physical, but it's something that can take you like many, many places.
That's right. And I feel like it's also like when it comes to the Rolling Stones or even the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like I call their logos or their branding universal, because you can go into any part of the world and somebody will recognize it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's ideally, I mean, you know, like you're not going to become that overnight, but it takes time. But if you have the right foundation and the right design and the right vibe about it that matches you as an artist, like that's going to carry with you as you grow your career.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, we can look at it as selling merch, but like you said, there's a lot of parts happening at once. Like you are marketing, and then there also is that fan engagement aspect where, you know, they feel exclusive to the event that they're attending, and then they're wearing it somebody else. So there's more than just an instant monetary ROI on that, I think.
Exactly. You want it to last beyond that transaction at the show, and you actually want your fans wearing it. Like, you don't want them to, I mean, yeah, great, you made your 20 bucks or whatever, but if it sits in the drawer, it's not doing those other things.
That's right.